So let's just talk about passing in general, safe passing, when it's good to pass, when it's not good to pass. The one thing, again, we look at as well with all the people that we're working with is we don't see people planning. We see people going out there, they have a plan when they get in their cart. As soon as the green flag goes, they don't have a plan. The plan goes away. So at that point, they're just racing and turning laps. And there's a lot going on, so I understand the situation, but the one thing you've got to understand is if you're in the back or you're in mid-pack, you've immediately got to be working and attacking those drivers in front of you right off the bat. Because at a certain point, especially in Rotax, the carts pretty much, unless you're extremely fast, they pretty much flatten out. So you've got to make your moves early, whether it's tires getting hot or engines getting hot, the carts pretty much flatten out at mid to 3/4 through the race. So you got to make those moves early. Not to mention, most people are not going to be ready for it early. They're going to be trying to get in their groove and doing their thing. So make it early. When you get behind somebody, one thing that I know frustrates both of us is when we see drivers that are faster than the guy in front of them. And there's a lot of you out here that when you're out there running, you're behind someone and you're following them for way too long. So we don't want to encourage you to make crazy moves early, but we want you to understand if you're on that guy's bumper and you're riding his bumper, you're quicker than him. There's a reason why you're on his bumper. And I would bet you 9 times out of 10, if you screw up a corner and you lose 5 or 6 cart lengths, within a lap or two, you're going to be right on his bumper again. So what does that tell you? That tells you you're much quicker than that guy in front of you. So the idea is to get on the bumper, and you've got to be close all the time. I'm talking, you need to be this close to the rear of that cart and waiting for a mistake. At that point, you just lock onto that bumper and you wait for a mistake. And it's going to come, I promise you, it will. Club racing, regional racing, everybody makes mistakes every single lap. Go ahead.
What if you get caught behind 2 people who are your fastest?
The way I would handle that is I would, again, analyze the driver. Who's driver 1 and who's driver 2? Do I know how driver 2 drives or driver 1 drives? What I would do at that point is if I'm more comfortable with the way driver 2 operates and the way they race, I'm going to use driver 2 to help us both pass driver 1. Okay? So what I would do at that point is if I'm comfortable with driver 2, I'm going to get behind driver 2, make sure I get a run out of here, give him a tap so he knows that I'm there. The next lap, he's going whether he likes it or not. Okay, so if he pulls out, he's going, and once we've committed, we're committed. And I'm going to try and make the double pass, because chances are if you're right on the bumper and you can get him up to driver 1, you need to stay there, because if driver 1 anticipates or looks over to turn in, by the time he's turned in and pulled back, you're already past him. So again, that's one of those commitment things. Once you decide to go, you got to go. Unless it's some weird, dangerous, crazy thing, you just got to go, because if you think about it for 1 more second, it's too late.
You see, and that goes against what I thought, because I thought you would sit back about 3 feet to 5 feet so that you're far enough back to react when they make a mistake. But you're saying...
Well, anybody, I know we got some NASCAR fans in here. If you ever watch, just to give you an example, and it's not just NASCAR, this particular portion of NASCAR really crosses over to karting. In the matter of, if you're right on that guy's bumper, by the time something happens to that particular person, if they overcook a corner or they spin, they're out of your way like that. If you're on their bumper. If you're 3 or 5 feet back, there may be a chance if they spin or do something or go too deep, they may have a chance to correct and run into you, or they may drop a wheel, and then by that time they've come back across track, and then for me, and Shelton may think different, but for me, if you're right on the bumper, your chances are a lot better to not be in an accident, even though it doesn't seem like that. But if something happens to that driver, 9 times out of 10, they're going to clear and you're going to be gone. And then the guys behind you got to deal with it. Go ahead.
What about when you know there's a certain spot on the track, you can follow for 2 laps, and there's messing up the same spot every time? And you know you see a spot where you can get around, would you give yourself some room to get a run?
Yes, for sure. Yep, definitely. Yeah, for me, I mean that's the whole key of today's deal is to get people to think about that for sure. Anyway, so let's go back to that scenario of driver 1 and 2. Just let me finish up on that real quick. Driver 1 and 2. So that's how I would handle that, and then I would get past driver 1 together. Then I would work on driver 2 at that point. Now, if a situation, if it's a teammate or someone I feel more comfortable with is driver 1 and driver 2, then you just need to analyze, stay on driver 2's bumper until you find out where their mistakes are, and there's going to be multiples. And then you just need to get past him, and then work on driver 1 or work driver 1 to the front if you got more traffic or whatever. I just get someone out there that I'm comfortable with, and I'll work with them until it's time to race. Go ahead.
So what is the significance of that tap? That you're saying that there should be a tap on the double right, and that would let them know that they really need to commit to passing the number 1.
Yeah. What I would do is definitely don't tap in the corners. Okay, the corners, you're going to turn them around. But what I would do is get a drive out of here for a couple reasons. I would hang back, as Robbie was talking about, to get it, to try a different line through here to see if I could get a run on him, to kind of test the waters at first, to see if I'm going to be able to make the pass or push him, because there may be a situation where driver 2, no matter how good of a run, he's got a little different gear and it's just not going to work. You may not be able to push him because you guys are geared different, so you may have to do a different plan of attack. And if that doesn't work, driver 2's not my friend anymore, and I can't pass him here. I'm going to pass him somewhere else and work on driver 2 or driver 1. The tap is just so that he or she understands that you're there. Is the idea. So maybe you can get someone to look back at you and understand, and then he looks at you, and you guys can analyze what you guys are trying to do. So if you get that tap, if he gets that tap, I know 9 times out of 10, if I'm driving with Shelton or Chase or Jacob or someone like that, if he gets that tap, he knows that I'm going next time. So he's either going to pull out, which 9 times out of 10 he's going to, and then we're going to go, or he understands that I'm coming by the next time. And if I do that and do that and he doesn't pull out, then I'm just going to pass it. I give, no matter who I'm with, whether it's a teammate or not, if I give that warning that I'm going, again, and the race happens so fast, if they're not going to go, then you've just got to go. You just can't wait. Maybe 1 or 2 laps, but after that, you just can't wait any longer. And maybe he or she can't get the run. I don't know what it is, but anyway. Analyzing drivers' mistakes. I think that's one of the biggest things that we see, that as we're on the sidelines, again, we see some people that we're dealing with that are extremely fast, and they're not analyzing the driver. They just keep doing the same thing every single lap. I mean, the problem is we've pounded in their head for weeks and months of testing and training or coaching, hit your lines, hit your lines, hit your lines, hit your lines, hit your lines. And that's what they're doing. So now they're doing exactly what we're asking them to do in a practice scenario, but in a race scenario that all changes. The idea behind it in a practice scenario is to get those consistent lap times within 100s or a 10, so that we can work on the chassis to get the chassis to work better for you and get you quicker. In a race scenario, it's completely different. It's 1:05 p.m. In a race scenario, all the scenarios change all the time, every single lap. So the idea is you may have to change different lines. Your kart may be good, it may be bad. There's going to be people in front of you, so you don't have a clear track. You're not going to be able to carry the same speed through here because you got someone slower. So there's so many changing scenarios during a race. You have to be willing to adapt and change as well. And that, I think the biggest thing we struggle with is watching drivers that are quicker just follow that driver, that other person. So I would say what you need to do is really analyze and really look at what that other driver is doing in front of you. And really concentrate on every single corner. How are they coming through this corner? How are they braking here? How are they taking the double right hand? Don't catch yourself following their line, because a lot of times what will happen too is after 2 or 3 laps, the driver that's quicker drops into that line, that slower line, and then starts turning the same lap times as the person in front of them. And at that point, it's over. So, and another reason why you gotta analyze it quick, make the passes quick, and move on. Because some of those, not only the drivers slowing you down because they're slower, everybody drops into the lines, into those slower lines, and then you can't improve at all. So analyze every single corner, what they're doing, where you can capitalize. If it's someone that's turning the same lap times and you guys are like this all the time, they're still going to make mistakes. So you just got to stay on their bumper. Again, you can't make judgments, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet away. So get on their bumper, 2, 3, 4 inches away, and analyze exactly where they're making those mistakes. And also that pressure, them knowing that, because they can hear you, that pressure will help them into mistakes. So you've got to be ready for that too. If they can feel the pressure, they can feel the pressure down here, the chances are they're going to try and brake a little deeper because they're afraid you're going to pass them. So this is a good area. Same here. There's a lot of areas where it's easily, where you can put pressure on and make people screw up. You have stuff to add on passing and analyzing?
I think, especially with this track, the biggest thing is, like Garrett said multiple times, is just being ready to capitalize on the mistake. You have the planned pass where you know you're going, but the other one is just being ready and being aware that as soon as coming into a corner, the guy misses the apex, you're already going for it. So you can't think about it. As soon as he makes a mistake, go for it. If you think about it, that's how the wrecks happen.
And what I don't want to do after this is for people to rush into passes or rush into a judgment. All I'm saying on what he's talking about and what I've talked about on the commitment, if you, don't get in your mind, I'm going no matter what. This next lap around, I've been following this guy for 4 laps, and he's terrible right here, and no matter what, you're thinking for 25 seconds that you're going to pass him. Don't get in that mind frame just because what if he hits this? What if he hits this turn just perfect next time, or you don't get a run at it here or something like that? If you've committed that far ahead, if before the last 2 you're entering the straightaway with 2 kart lengths and you were pulling up 3 easily, maybe you screwed up the corner and maybe you're entering at 4 now and you don't have the speed and you can only get up to his back wheels here. So keep all that in mind too. The biggest thing we want everybody to do is just think about it. Don't just go out there and turn laps. Think about the track, think about the corners, and think about the drivers. I know there's a lot. We get a lot of people that we work with. There's a lot to know. There's a we want you to hit your apexes. We want you to tell, after all that 25 laps of racing or 15 laps of racing, then we want you to come back and tell us what the car was doing. So everybody looks at us like, well, I don't know. So we don't want you to overanalyze and fill the brains with too much, but when you get up close to someone like that, think about what they're doing. Think about that car. Think about how they're exiting the corner, entering the corner, braking, that type of stuff. And capitalize on those opportunities. Because I see more often than not, people have tons of opportunities. Because fortunately for you, and unfortunately, everybody at this level that we're at right now makes a ton of mistakes. It's just the way it is, but it's across the board. Everybody's doing it. So there's going to be, on race day, and I'll go with the road tax racing, every single driver is going to make 4 or 5 mistakes every lap. I promise you. So you've just got to be able to capitalize and, again, commit to those movements. If you don't commit, you'll crash.
I've seen in sportsmen, and in no way I'm just asking, I'm not singling anything out, but I've seen some real aggressive passing in corners, where corners are cut, like in the last lap. how does that relate to like road tax rules and where is it okay? How much can you cut? How aggressive can you be in that pass?
Well, the question
Is it okay or it's?
the question is aggressive passing in some classes, in the corners. The bottom line is you have to be aggressive. There's no doubt about that. But I think you need to be smart aggressive. You know, for me, I've made some extremely crazy aggressive passes, but I didn't lay a bumper on anybody while I was doing it.
Okay, so that's
So,
the same thing.
yeah.
As long as it's a clean pass,
Yeah.
if you jump a corner,
Exactly. You know, I mean, just because it's white flag lap and you're going to pass this guy no matter what, because you're quicker, that doesn't mean that you can be right here and make the pass. That means, guess what? You're going to have to be here. You know, I mean, without screwing up his line, unless you want to get a penalty. So you can be aggressive. I'm all about aggressive, but you have to be aggressive. And the rule of thumb, no matter what, when we leave here, is the overtaking driver's responsibility to get past the driver in front of him without impeding his progress. Period. That's it. I mean, a race director could penalize anybody for anything. So just keep that in mind. I need to be able to get by without screwing up this guy's line or hitting him or whatever.
do you have to, let's say, to the point where you have to have at least one of the four wheels still on concrete?
Again, it's interpretation. The answer to the question is maybe. The question was, do you have to have all four on the race surface, or at least one? If you got a corner worker in that corner and a race director's looking at you, yeah. If he's not, no. You know, so I mean, it's one of those things. You know, it's all interpretation in a gray area. But you also have to think, if you don't have the less wheels you have on the asphalt, the less grip you have. So, you know, go ahead. Well, yeah. I mean, the question is, if you're being overtaken on the inside and you're on the outside, just give him the spot. I'm never going to give a spot. But with that said, I'm not going to turn in on the guy. So the idea is, you don't have to give up that spot. You don't have to stop racing. I wouldn't stop racing. You know, if someone comes up here, on the inside of me, I'm going to try and stay here because I know I still have a chance to still block the move clear down here. All right? But if he's here, don't do that. Don't turn in on him because both of your racing's going to be done for the day.
So you don't even have to hit somebody if you penalize. If you impede their progress, if you force them to take.
No. You can force them wherever you want as long as you don't touch them.
Pushing past brake zones.
So the one, something Paul said is, if you can be penalized for impeding someone's progress if you don't touch them, and that's not true. If I can suck someone into a braking maneuver where I come here, and in fact in a racing situation here, what I may do if I'm up on someone, I'm actually going to go past my brake point just a little bit here, just to carry him in a little deeper and put him out in the dirt. So if you do something like that and you didn't touch him, no problem. Because there's no contact and he brakes too late, that's fine.
What if he has to leave the track?
That's, well, if as long as, well, we've had some situations right here where you've came up inside somebody, come in this direction, come inside for a pass, and you got the leader that's right here you're making a pass on, you can't force him out on the lawn, even if you don't touch him. So if you dive in inside him, you can't just keep pushing him all the way out in the dirt. You've got to come in here, and make your line and give him some room. You know, it's to still race. Because if I was a race director and you come through here and you just kept pushing and he was making a change to avoid you based on the move you made, then I would definitely penalize.
Same section, coming around the oval. If you get hung out on the outside, the guy doesn't give up the line, you're going right toward a curb.
Right here?
So coming around, keep coming.
Yeah, oh, you mean right here?
Further up, to the right, like going through the oval. Through the oval.
Oh, through the oval, so come through here?
And you get caught outside right there. Even if you're ahead and the guy doesn't give you any room, you're going to sky a curb. Is that on you or is that on him?
But if you come through here, do we have we don't have a... It all depends on cart position too. So we're going the opposite way, you make a pass in here, you got another guy here, let's see, you got another guy right here is what you're saying. And you come in here, at this point, if you're like that, for me, if I was a race director or a racer, you get to this point, if I'm this guy, even though at that point, in my opinion, the pass has been completed. You're heading into the next corner and the pass has been completed. This is the guy you just passed. If he decides he wants to try and take that curb, then that's his deal.
When is the pass completed? When your nose is in front of this?
It depends on the corner, but technically, yes. The idea is, when you're on an inside pass, you don't even have to have your nose past his nose. Basically, for me, in my mind, if my bumper is up to his steering wheel, my bumper is up to his front wheels or his steering wheel, I'm going. The pass is completed, I'm committed, I can't do anything from this point on. So you're going to have to do something. So, that's again thinking about, okay, now I'm the outside guy. Am I going to turn in on him and possibly ruin all our races, or am I going to let him go and try and tuck in behind him and make a decision somewhere else?
Is that the general rules when the bumper is next to the steering wheel?
You'd have to...
You just got to think that the guy on the outside has to be able to see. I mean, if he sees you, then it's a different...
Especially if he checks. I mean...
I'm going the same turn. He's right there. He's got the inside line. I'm not going to force him. He's got the line. He's got the beat.
Well, and it's all in interpretation, because I don't think you'll ever find an actual black and white rule that says once that tire meets that side pod, it's over. It's going to be an interpretation deal, because it's very possible, depending on who this person was. I mean, if it was a teammate or someone, I may just eke down and give him a little room so that he doesn't get hurt and he can have the option to either stay or go. But if this is someone that I've been battling with, I'm going to be over here. And then they're going to have to make a decision.
Yeah, but you're in a position to make a decision. You're not forcing them off the court. They just need a break. Or maybe
At this point, you're really not forcing anybody because you're driving straight. So at this point, they have to decide, this person has to decide what they're going to do. This situation's a little bit different just because you're both through and then you're kind of forcing him out to the lawn and kind of, not giving him any choice to where he goes.
I mean, it also seems to me.
And I did that. I mean, I'm sure some of you guys see when me and Robbie were running. That's a classic example of Robbie got me inside right here, and I decided not to give it up. And then I ended up in the lawn and in the mud. And, I should have tapped the brakes and tucked in behind Robbie, and then passed him somewhere else. But I didn't. I kept my foot in it, and then he started easing over, and then my only place was the lawn, and that was it. But and I crashed and didn't finish, and had a cart to clean, and Robbie finished. So you just have to kind of make those decisions.
My understanding from stuff we talked about in the past is it's not just your bumpers at your steering wheel, but it's taking your line. If he's taking your line away, if he's on the correct line based on the speed, you really don't have a choice. You know that you need to give up.
Correct. Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of new people, and some of the issues we're having here, is people not giving up and living to fight another day. So it's the idea of, chopping or cutting, and those are clearly in the rule book. Chopping's in the rule book, cutting's in the rule book, that type of stuff's in the rule book.
What's that?
Chopping down on someone, when someone's bumper's here and you chop down on them, that's chopping. And that at that point, even though that particular person on the inside was the overtaker, if this person chops down on them, they're going to get the penalty. So you got to just be aware of the surroundings and that type of stuff. Yeah, I honestly, I think I'm really happy with our entire race group. I really am. We've got new people coming in all the time. They're learning. Everybody's trying to understand it. There's so much to learn. And we're getting some fast people out there too. So I think in general, the group is doing a great job. I think the biggest thing that they're lacking is practice time. Taking the time to practice the track, practice the line, and get the cart set up before race weekend, and understand that all happens before race weekend. Once you put your cart on the track Saturday, all that's over with. So it's not test and tune time on Saturday. You got to get all that done, get everything in your mind, and at that point, then switch onto I'm analyzing drivers, analyzing what they're doing, checking for mistakes, looking at lines, and at that point, I'm in full race mode. You know, and I do small little tweaks here and there to keep me going. But other than that, you know, I think those are the only two things. If we can get the group to transfer from practice to racing and the analyzation, it would be, you guys are going to be great. Any other questions?
This is not track related. I found out about this class yesterday. I called, they told me the wrong time. So who do I have to get in touch with to get on a mailing list or email list or whatever?
We'll, why don't you walk over with us? Actually, one of these guys can probably sign you up right here. One of the, Matt or Wes will sign you up. They'll put you on our mailer, and you'll get the mailing, the emails all the time for the cart. Just tell them you want the cart email. All right.
And in Part B, what did I miss in the first half? No. Well,
Part B was basic. Yeah. The first part before lunch was basic a track, breaking down the configuration and lines for this particular track. But I think you caught the more important portion of this, which is the racing and that type of stuff.
All right.
We'll be editing and throwing it up on YouTube.
Oh,
all right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mentioned it earlier about possibly walking on track, a walk on the track.
Yeah, we'll grab some food and get this shut down. Give us about 10 minutes or so. Let's meet over there. We'll shut the track down and do a track walk. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.